debt, fear, relationships, the children, your health, work. When you want to give up and you need courage to continue, take heart and stay tuned as R.J. Jackson writes her signature message of hope on your heart. You don't have to live where you're dying, and you don't have to die where you're living. Like every show of Conversations on Courage, you'll be informed, inspired, and encouraged to find the courage you need to succeed at home, work, and in your business. Get your pen and paper. You'll want to take notes. And now, your host, R.J. Jackson, the Courage Giver.
Hello, beautiful. I'm your friend, R.J. Jackson, your master encourager, accountability coach, speaker for your next event, and you're down to earth. I'm listening. Tell it like it is. I love you, girl. Friend. Yep. That's me. Welcome to the conversation. This is a show for women. Women who dare to be bold and courageous. Women who live life unapologetically. This is a show where you can find the courage you need in order to succeed. This is episode 1 of Conversations on Courage. It's the one you'll want to listen to over and over again. It's the one you'll share with your friends. Matter of fact, go ahead. Why don't you do that right now? Why don't you show your sister friend that you care about her and you want her to succeed? Go ahead and share the show by hitting the share button right now. After all, sharing is caring. On today's show, we promise to fill your cup with courage one sip at a time. We're going to provide you with success strategies, inspiration, and purposeful conversation. What else are we going to do while we're together? Well, we're going to respond to your questions. You know, the ones you had the courage to ask out loud on our Facebook group. Girl, I'm working on it too. Oh, and by the way, if you're new and you're not a part of our group, we invite you to join us today on Facebook, where you will find a safe place to be you, authentically you, and meaningful relationships with women just like you. We'll also share in your story, and we will provide you with a life-giving experience. And, of course, before we end, we'll talk to our featured guest. We're going to talk about having a plan, trusting the influencer, and most of all, knowing where you're going.
Stay tuned. Coming up next, RJ brings her special guest to the table for more authentic and down-to-earth conversations on courage.
Today, Rueben Wood joins us at the table, and I promise you it's going to be one of those meals where you just want to lick your fingers. Rueben is a brand ambassador. He's an entrepreneur, influencer, and actor. You can learn more about Rueben by checking him out on our website or visiting him at RubenWood.com. Quick, grab your napkin. Listen, you're going to need to wipe your mouth after this conversation. Don't forget to grab your tennis shoes, too, because after such an amazing meal, you're going to want to take a walk and, most of all, take action on some of the strategies you've learned on how to live your best life right now.
Stay tuned. Coming up next, RJ brings her special guest to the table for more authentic and down-to-earth conversations on courage.
Like I said, ladies, it's going to be an amazing conversation here at the table today. Rueben, welcome to the table.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you, RJ, for having me on the show today. Yeah, I mean, let's get into it.
So who is Rueben Wood?
I'm an influencer, I'm a brand ambassador, entrepreneur. I'm also an actor as well. You know, I hope that everybody who is tuning in and listening can take something from this.
And I am confident that they will, Rueben. So thank you again so much for being willing to share your time, your talent, and speaking life into our life as women. We need to hear from our men. And so thank you for being willing to speak into our.
You're listening to Conversations on Courage with your host, RJ Jackson, the Courage Giver. Quick, call your friends and invite them to listen in.
Like you said, let's just go ahead and start the conversation. Want to encourage everybody to get your pen and paper ready. You are going to want to take notes. So, Rueben, what's your story? Like, tell us a little bit about Rueben. How did you get here as an influencer, as an entrepreneur, and an actor? How did you actually get here, Mr. Brand Ambassador?
Well, actually, I've been like doing stuff in the entertainment industry and just in the business industry for about 8 years now. So basically, I kind of started out in the music business, making music and different things like that, and then I transitioned from that into the business world. And what I did was I actually started a magazine. The magazine was online and in print. It's called SOM Magazine now. Originally, it was Spaced Out Magazine. So from there, I actually started working with a lot of different corporate entities like Apple, Best Buy, Walmart, doing affiliate marketing and stuff like that for them to make passive income as well as direct business-to-consumer advertising and marketing. So from doing that for a couple of years, I went into like public relations and stuff like that and just doing more so with social media. So that's kind of how I got into being an entrepreneur and also an influencer and brand ambassador. Specifically with being a brand ambassador, I work with the Voice app. The Voice app it's like a app that's designed for people to communicate. It's another social media tool. It's not like Instagram. It's not like Facebook. It's really way more than that. You can share videos. You can share pictures, but it's a different way to communicate. Because a lot of times when we have meetings or if we're doing podcasts such as this or just anything, we talk. And when we're talking or when we're using our voice and stuff like that, there's sometimes not enough ways to communicate, especially with apps nowadays. So it's a simple way to communicate. You can record voice notes. You can host meetings. You can put your podcast on that platform. You can do a lot of things. You can share videos. You can share pictures, same way you can on Instagram and Facebook. And as the community continues to grow, that whole brand in itself grows. And I've pretty much been with them from the start of it, bringing new people onto that whole platform, influencers, celebrities, just regular consumers and users to help it to continue to grow. And as far as acting in general, I actually started acting in 2017. This month, one of the movies I was in, which is Night School, which is Kevin Hart, Tiffany Haddish movie, is coming out. So, yeah, I've acted in a couple of different movies and television shows. Started out doing background extra work and kind of just, moving on to different other areas of the acting business and stuff. I also directed my first film in 2015, 2015 and in 2015. It was released in theaters in 2016. It was a documentary about a barber from the city where I'm from in Brunswick, Georgia. So that kind of sums up the gist of a lot of stuff about me as far as what I do.
So let me, Rueben, just take a moment and talk to the ladies, because we need a shift in our attitude. Because too often we say things and we think and believe there are no good men out there. Okay, hold on, wait a minute. Let me put some Rueben in it. Wrong, ladies. There are plenty of good men doing amazing things to make a difference in our lives and in our world. What we need to do as women is shift. We need to shift who we're hanging around, what we're doing, and what we're thinking in order to see the greatness that's in front of us. Ooh, wow, Rueben. Like, whoo, bro. Like, I wrote like 3 pages of notes just to talk to you about. So we're going to take it a little bit at a time with the time that we have. Let me go way back in your story as you talked about being an entrepreneur and the different things that you're doing, including your magazine, affiliate marketing, direct marketing, influencing. Did you, like, dream of these things when you were little? Did you see someone else doing this? Like, how did it actually come about?
Growing up, I didn't really think that I would be like where I'm at today, because I was more so focused on cooking and just selling stuff in general. And what I mean by that is like in the 3rd grade, I would sell candy and food and snacks and stuff. So, I mean, I guess I've always been a salesman, but I didn't think that I would be where I'm at now, because that wasn't what my original plan was. I really just thought about, like, getting a regular 9-to-5 job at a restaurant and, you know, just doing stuff like that, because I can cook. So, and that's what I actually went to college for as well, for kitchen management and culinary arts. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I thought I was going to do, but that's not what happened, and that wasn't.
That's not what happened.
Yeah.
Brother Man said, look, don't get it twisted. I can cook. Well, Rueben, you could do better than me. Wait, hold up. Let me tell you the truth. I can cook. I just don't like to cook. But I can cook. But Brother Man said, with confidence, ladies, I can cook. And you know what, Rueben? I love how you said something that really brings life to us. You said, when I was in 3rd grade, I was out there selling stuff. And the truth is, you had an entrepreneur spirit then. You just didn't realize it, and perhaps you didn't have anybody to speak into that part of your life. I'm not sure. And sometimes we don't have people that have that experience that can pull those giftings and talents out. So where did it come out? Like, where did you realize this is what I want to do? This is the direction I'm going in. Bam. I'm not going to cook.
I think it actually came out while I was in college, because I was at the Art Institute of Atlanta, and I mean, we would do shows and different things like that, because I was also doing music during that time. And kind of just being like in both arenas or whatever, it's hard to balance. So I kind of had to make a decision. So if I chose to take one job in Atlanta, like with what was it supposed to be like? I was supposed to be working under one of the top chefs in Atlanta at his restaurant, doing an internship, and then going from that to, I guess, like being a sous chef at his restaurant. It was either that or go pursue, like, doing music and stuff. And to me, it was more exciting, so I thought, to try to go get, like, a record deal and things like that. So I didn't pursue, doing the internship. So that decision right there is what kind of like started me on a completely different path And I had a lot of time where I'd be like, oh, man, I probably should have did the internship, but it's all good, though, because I believe if I did that, I probably wouldn't be where I'm at now. So.
And sometimes fear takes us there. It's like, see what happened? You should have. I knew you should have. I told you. But I love how you said, okay, it didn't go as planned or as I thought, but it didn't stop me from continuing on with who I am and the greatness that's inside of me. And I want to take that thought that you just shared with us, and I want to reiterate it to our listeners. Don't let life stop you. Live life. No, it's not always going to go the way you want it to go, but it's going. And so make the most of every opportunity. That's what Rueben is telling us he has done and continues to do. And as a result, Rueben, you're an influencer. What is it that you want to influence people to do?
Well, I mean, the main thing is just, if I'm telling you to, like, get something or be a part of something, I want people to feel more comfortable and trust what I'm saying to them. And I feel like that's been one of the most important journeys as far as since I really got into influence and things like that with Instagram. Because when I first started using the platform, I didn't know anything, like what I was doing as far as that. Like, I had a business. I was still doing marketing, advertisement, and public relations for different other music artists and businesses, but I wasn't focusing on my own brand and my own self. So I really got more so into influencer marketing in 2016. One of the first companies that I worked with was Petco. They were doing a campaign about things like share a picture with your animal. If you have an animal, I had a dog and everything. So it was just to bring awareness to, what was it? I don't know if it was breast cancer month or it was some type of cause that they were bringing awareness to for a specific type of illness. So the more pictures that were shared and the more hashtags and likes that people were getting, dollars were being donated to their cause. And I just thought that was so important, because when you're influencing people or when you're sharing these pictures and stuff, or even just videos, whatever it may be, and you're telling people to buy stuff or to be a part of this or be a part of that, it's like people need to trust you and trust your word and understand what you're saying and feel comfortable with what you're saying. Because I couldn't go on my Instagram and promote something that's strictly for women, by women. Like, people would look at me like I'm crazy like that. So,
a little bit.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying, but there are people who do that. And it's like,
absolutely.
Me, like, with influencing, I just wanted to make sure that my impact was not only getting me paid and making me, more successful, but I wanted to make sure that it was like giving something to people. And I've been more so doing more research and things like that on that whole part of the industry and everything since the beginning of this year. So I'm more in depth with it now than I was when I first started out. But that's pretty much how that's been for me.
So influencing is about honoring your word, being an example of what you're talking about, and the passion to help other people. So how has passion in itself, Rueben, been a driving force for you, and why do you feel passion is so important?
Well, I feel like if I gave up, I would be letting a lot of other people down. But most importantly, I'd be letting myself down. A lot of times, we all deal with self-doubt. And if you kind of like hone in on that too much, it can form like depression and stuff. So I just feel like you got to be so passionate about whatever it is that you're doing that you just form a tunnel, so to speak, to just keep going forward. And even if you get sidetracked or stopped, just make sure you continue to be passionate about your vision. Because once you get that vision and you know where you're going, and you really have to know where you're going in order to be able to get there. And you can't do that without, having that passion for what you're doing.
Yeah, because we do fall down, but as the saying says, it doesn't matter how many times you fall down. Like you just said, what matters is how many times you get back up and let your passion drive you. I also love how you just said, but look, you got to know where you're going. You don't just get in a car and start driving without a destination unless you just trying to just relax or something. But if you're going somewhere, you got to know where you're going, because if you don't know where you're going, you're not going to know that you've arrived. You know where you're going. You know how you're getting there. You have several businesses that you have, including your magazine, your app, the music industry. Let's talk about building a business and branding. Since you have several businesses successful, you can talk to us about that. So what would you say, Rueben, is the key to building and branding a business?
A lot of times people come up with a lot of great ideas for businesses, for products, different things like that, but they don't really put together a plan. Your plan should consist of every strategy that you're going to have for your marketing approach. It should also outline who your ideal customer is, what is your targeted demographic, stuff like that.
Have a plan. Because without a plan, people fail. And it's true, we do have ideas. We're like really creative people, like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. But we never create a plan to say, well, how we're going to do that and who does that affect and why do they want that. So if you're in the midst of building a business, don't forget you got to have a plan, because without a plan, people absolutely fail. Rueben, obviously you have a plan. Does your plan ever change? Like, does it remain the same? Is it the same plan you had 6 years ago?
No, the plan does always change. And the reason it changes is because the world we live in is constantly changing. You have so many outside influences that will affect the business, that will affect the economy, that will affect us as individuals. So you always have to, change your plan or adjust it so you yourself can be comfortable. Because let's just say someone creates a social media marketing business or just a marketing advertising business. One specific industry that may be your niche may crash and burn, meaning this whole industry could potentially go out of business one day. Now, if you don't have enough clients, you haven't taken the necessary precautions to save enough money or any aspect of that to make sure that you have your secured cushion and that you can do what you need to do, what happens? You just basically took a huge loss. So if you don't adapt it and start switching to other niches or other markets and different things like that, it's like you're only going to affect yourself. Because I've had to rebrand my businesses several times, even with the magazine. I'm in the process of rebranding it now, and when we do the new launch by the end of this year, it's going to go from more so photo-based and stuff like that and still shots to strictly videography, videos, and things like that. And the reason for that is not just to like be on the trends of what other media companies or magazines are doing, but it's for a specific metric based upon statistics of how we as individuals use social media, how we view stuff, what's important to us and what's not important to us. because we live right now in a digital age. So for any businesses, even local car dealerships, a lot of local car dealerships don't utilize social media. But then they wonder why they're having so many vehicles left on their lots. That would be one of the biggest reasons why. Because some consumers who are on social media don't feel comfortable with looking at their brand or buying from their brand because they can't look at their inventory. They can't see exactly what's going on with them. So, yeah, you have to always change.
So the plan has to change, and sometimes change is really scary and it's difficult and fear sets in. And when you talk about, okay, the business failed, sometimes we take that personal and we say we're failures. So speak to that for me, if you will, the business failing versus us being failures.
Well, I mean, I've had a business that actually failed. It was actually my first music development company. And the reason that it failed was because during the span of us actually picking up clients, developing them, and things like that, we never secured for ourselves any investments, any sponsorships to continue doing what we were doing. Moving forward, after that, whole thing shut down, I learned from my mistakes. So if you're an individual, you're an entrepreneur, you start a business, it fails, it doesn't go the way that you think it does or should, or it just doesn't pan out at all, you should always learn from your failures or from your mistakes as opposed to looking at yourself and saying that you personally failed. Even though sometimes we can, have feelings of inadequacy and stuff like that, it's just like you can't let that stuff get to you. And one of the biggest things is if you focus on something too long that's negative, you're going to become negative. And that's what affects, like, the thinking for us as individuals, and it can also cause so many more setbacks from us being, like, productive and things like that. So if it fails, that's a good thing because you learn from it. You learn what not to do. And maybe that industry isn't even for you in general. Maybe you need to be doing something else. So it's very important to have those failures anyway so that you can learn from your mistakes. But you yourself should look at yourself as a failure.
So what I hear you saying is learn the lesson and forget the details. Not the details of how you got there, but the details that drain you and pull you down and keep you from moving forward. Is that what I hear you saying?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. It's good stuff what you're saying, brother. Good stuff. So you have all these successful businesses. How do you find time? Because this is where we as women struggle, finding time to balance the business, family, social stuff. It's like, somebody got to move aside. And usually for us as women, we're the ones pushing ourselves aside. So how do you as a man find time to balance business and life?
I think that because time management was always one of my issues, a lot of careful research and planning has helped me over the years, especially when it comes down to having a successful business and things. You need to, like, utilize different apps and other stuff that can make your days easier, even if that's a planner, even if that's just like an app that will schedule posts for your social media for your business, even if that's hiring somebody else to do certain things if you have the budget for it. Whatever can make your life, like, easier or simpler, you should always strive to do that because most of the time that's what's causing the hindrance on time. Because I myself, like, I look at a lot of people who are way farther ahead than me. And what I mean by that is if you take, for example, like Kevin Hart, I've been on set with him, and he's worked all day. He takes a couple of breaks to go get some coffee, take a couple hours nap, stuff like that, and he's back on set. He's reading over lines. He's memorizing lines. He's coming in to shoot his parts and different things like that. He may take a small break. After this day of filming, he's hopping on a private plane, going somewhere else to go do an interview, or going somewhere else to have a meeting. Then he's coming back to be back on set. The same thing is true with a lot of other, like, top-level CEOs and stuff like that. Like one person that I know, Gary Vee. He going through the same thing because he does so many keynotes and speaking and just different things like that. He has to have a driver. He has to have somebody who's holding the camera to record him all the time and different things like that, so it can make his life simpler. Same thing with Kevin Hart. That's why I mentioned him, because he has a team of people that are doing stuff for him. So, like I said, if you have the budget for certain things, yes, alleviate some of all that stress from yourself. If you don't have the budget for it, use the apps to plan as much ahead as possible, because it actually helps, because that's what helps me. And even though I haven't got to the point where it's so strenuous, well, sometimes it is strenuous, but I haven't got to the point where every day is that strenuous and everything. So I don't need to have such a big team yet, but a lot of times if you just more so plan out your day, use those apps, and you just have more of a clear direction of how your week is going to go, everything will flow smoother. And always plan for setbacks too, because certain things can kind of throw you off, which can waste your time. And also, speaking of time, don't waste time giving like energy to stuff that isn't a benefit to you, or is not gonna like help you be productive, because a lot of times, and it doesn't matter what it is, I mean, if you give enough time to negativity, other people, and other things, you lose your focus. You lose the passion that you can have for something, because you could be sitting there talking to somebody else and they just giving off all this negativity and everything. That saps your energy, your productive energy, to being focused on what they're thinking about and what they're talking about. So it's actually pulling you down. So you may have been so up and in such a good mood that you were working and you were ready to do your work. What happens after you come in contact with that person is you fall into that slump. So you actually don't want to do any work. You want to focus on feeling better at that point. So you have to, like, not give time to the wrong people, to the wrong things, plan, and just, like I said, use apps, simplify as much as you possibly can so that it doesn't cause a hindrance to yourself or burdens.
So, ladies, I know you got books that you're writing right now on all the great information that Rueben just shared with us. But in case you missed a few things, let me just recap some real important words that he shared. Number one, he said, if you're going to have balance in business and life, number one, you got to be clear. In other words, you got to keep the main thing the main thing. And don't forget, watch your thoughts, because your thoughts become your action. And then you find yourself doing things you have no business doing, another waste of time, or you find yourself hanging around people who are pulling you down instead of lifting you up. Now, I'm not saying this. I'm just reiterating what Rueben said. He also talked about how important it is to connect. And as women, we have this attitude like, I got it, I could do it, I don't need no help. Girl, please. Bye, Felicia. Yes, you do. We all need help. We were created for connection. And sometimes that connection means you hire someone, you take on an intern, but relationships, they're important. So we need them to have balance in our lives. So, Rueben, thank you, brother, for speaking life into our life and reminding us that there is greatness inside of us. We just need to get it together and get it in balance. That was some good stuff, bro. That was good stuff. I'm working on it. Okay, really quick, you talked about using apps. Really quickly, what's your favorite app to help you balance your time, your life, and your business?
Well, for Instagram specifically, I use Iconosquare and Buffer or either Hootsuite. And that's just for social media planning. For anybody who has businesses, I definitely recommend those 3 apps. Another thing that I use is Google Calendar, just to like set schedules and stuff like that. So that's another app that's very important for planning out my days and keeping me on reminders and stuff.
Awesome. We're going to look at adding some of those things to our lives to simplify, because that's another key that Rueben shared with us. Simplify. It don't have to be complicated. You know how you have that thing checked on your Facebook or whatever, complicated. Please, girl, get that out your life. Simplify. That's all I got to say about that. Rueben, I don't have much more to say. I want to hear from you. I want to know, what words of encouragement would you leave us with today? Not that you haven't already, filled our cup and it's not overflowing.
The best words I would say is, believe in yourself, number one, and don't stop believing in yourself. And what I mean by that is, literally, this is to everybody in our community and, abroad, but definitely in our community. Know where you're going and figure out how you're going to get there. Because those are like the biggest words, the wisest words that were told to me. And they ring in my ears every day. If you don't have any sense of direction, any vision of where you're going in life with your business, even if you're working a 9 to 5, whatever it is you're doing, you can't continue your journey. You can't keep going. So make sure you know where you're going and how you're going to get there. And continue to believe in yourself.
Know where you're going, know how you're going to get there, and don't forget to believe that it's possible to arrive. Rueben, thank you so much for sharing your words of wisdom, your time, and your talent with us today, to speak into our lives as women, to remind us that we don't have to live where we're dying, and we certainly don't have to die where we're living. You are an influencer, a brand ambassador, an entrepreneur that we want to stay connected with. How can we do that?
You can follow me on Instagram at Real Rueben Wood, or just visit RubenWood.com, and it's RubenWood.com. That's
RubenWood.com. RubenWood. Rueben, it's been a pleasure. I'm over here licking my fingers from the meal you just served. One thing for sure, you can cook. And today, brother, you cooked up some courage. You filled our plate. You filled our cup, and it is overflowing. And now it's time for us to go out and take action on what you shared. We are thanking you for giving us something to run with. Thanks again for being our guest. May your day be totally blessed.
Thank you again for having me.
Hey, listen, I'm hugging you from here, and thank you once again for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure, not only having Rueben, but having you be the most valuable part of the conversation here on Conversation on Courage. I want to invite you to share, subscribe, and most of all, please send us some love. Join us again next week, Tuesday at 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We also invite you to take a moment and go back and listen to our past archives. We've had some amazing guests here at the table on Conversations on Courage. Please leave a review on iTunes, iHeart, and yes, even Yep. We'd love to hear how we've been an encouragement to you.
Thank you for joining us for Conversations on Courage. Now that you've been inspired, informed, and encouraged, it's time for you to take action. So head on over to thecouragegiver.com. That's thecouragegiver.com and connect with RJ for a personal conversation on courage. She's waiting to help you take the risk you need to succeed.